Okay, so I bought another meter. The thing about this meter is it's Bluetooth. It does it does have a screen, but supposedly it also has a Bluetooth app that you can wirelessly check on your powerwall or whatever you're running through this meter. So haven't opened it yet. Came a little squished, but not too bad. Let's open it up and see what we got here. Some wiring, although it's probably the Bluetooth antenna. Looks like a little antenna. Okay, that is our display. Looks pretty good. This is the shunt. So this is a 100 amp shunt, and so you'll run your negative. You run the negative lead of whatever you're trying to measure through this, and it'll measure the current being pulled through this, and then this is probably your battery voltage. This is probably where you put your battery plus and minus, just so it can get voltage levels. But like I said, this also supposedly has a Bluetooth module, so this is probably the Bluetooth antenna. Let's see here. In true fashion, there was no instructions provided. It says this might actually be a temperature probe. Trying to look at the picture here. This fits in the side here. Yes, actually, so this fits in the temperature probe spot. So that's cool. This actually has a temperature probe, so you can remotely check the temperature of the battery or your BMS or whatever else you want to monitor. So that's, if this works, that's pretty cool. Now I believe this actually uses, takes USB power. So let us find let's see if it'll boot up with a micro USB plugged in. Oh, it does. Screen is up. Let's bring you in closer. Oh, you know what? Let me ASMR peel this sticker off here. Oh, I tore the tag off. Well, now it's almost like a screen protector, but I'm still going to peel it off. This is not very ASMR right now. Okay, there we go. Okay, there you go. Let's see what these buttons do here. What does M do? It's pretty interesting. I think you can actually put in the cost of your energy and measure what your energy is costing you, which is interesting. Let's see what plus does. Oh, totally different screen. Nice. Okay, just these two screens. And there we go. There is an external temperature on there. I'm going to hold. I don't know if you can see that. That's a temperature. It says 20. It says 30 degrees C because I touched it. Look, the temperature is dropping, and then if I touch it, boom, 32 degrees C. So the temperature probe works perfectly, except it's in C, but still pretty cool. I don't know if there's a way to change the meter to Fahrenheit. Probably not. Oh, holy smokes! I just found a menu without even trying. Okay, well that is... This is pretty cool, I have to say. Now, unfortunately, I don't really see how I can change the temperature to Fahrenheit. But, you know, I can live with this meter as is. Okay. I guess that's enough messing around. Let's hook this up to something and we'll start to see how accurate the meter is, and then we'll try out the Bluetooth module in a second. So I have the meter rigged up on my powerwall here, and I have to say I've actually remade this part of the video 3 or 4 times because I've had a lot of problems with the accuracy of this new meter, and I ended up completely recalibrating the meter. I ended up figuring out where the recalibration functions on this meter were, and I've recalibrated it using a bench power supply, and it is dead nuts accurate at 10 amps, which is what the calibration is for, at 10 amps. But fully calibrated, I have to, you know, it's fully calibrated at 10 amps and it is accurate at 10 amps. But at 30 amps, now it's 5 amps off at 30 amps, which, you know, that's 5 amps at 30 amps. I mean, that's like 12%, 15% off. But it's weirdly at 60 amps, it's back accurate, maybe 1 or 2 amps off at 60 amps. So this thing is, it's a little weird on its amp curve. It's accurate at 10 amps, fairly accurate at 60 amps, but all 15% at 30 amps. So I don't know, it's a bit weird. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna put on a heat gun which can pull 30 amps and 60 amps, and we'll see how accurate it is versus the other meter. And I have also used a clamp meter, and I know that my meter my blue meter up there is fairly accurate, maybe a little bit low, but pretty close. So let's compare these meters. So this meter is saying that we are pulling 39 amps. We are not. We are pulling about 33, 34 amps. My meter is saying 32 amps. And like I said, this meter is about an amp low at this draw. I've put a clamp meter on it. So we're pulling about 33 amps on this setting. And this is saying 39 amps. That is a huge difference. Yet, when I take it to 60 amps, my meter is saying 66 amps, 65 amps, and that's 1 or 2 amps short, so it's really more like 67 amps. And I have metered this with my clamp meter. It is about 67 amps. This meter says 67 amps. So it's perfectly accurate at 60 amps. But at 10 amps, it is and at 10 amps, let me turn that off. At 60 amps, it's accurate. At 10 amps, it's accurate. At 30 amps, it's wildly off. And I have recalibrated this thing dozens of times, and I just can't get it to be accurate at 30 amps. It just seems to have a weird voltage or current curve. You can put in current offsets. I have figured that out. I have figured out the menu. Since I've been working on this for days, I have this thing completely figured out. Let me show you around here. Okay, so to do a full recalibration, if you hold the top button and the bottom button together at the same time, it'll take you into a secret recalibration menu. okay? And here you can calibrate the voltage with 30 volts, and you can calibrate the current with 10 amps. And I have a bench power supply, and I gave it 10.00 amps, and I was able to calibrate this on this menu. So, and I just, you're never going to believe it, I just accidentally zeroed it out. I just ruined my calibration on video. Oh my god. Let me restore my default settings here, but this is, I just literally ruined the calibration that I did. This menu is a bit complicated. Okay, we're back. But anyways, this is the regular menu. Oh jeez, I always forget. So the calibration menu is you use the two buttons, and then you can calibrate to a known amperage and known voltage. The regular menu is just by holding the menu button in. You can and then you press the menu button to cycle. And here you can actually put a voltage offset and a current offset on this screen. When I'm on voltage, if I hold the down button, it'll slowly drag that voltage down, and I'm actually putting in an offset. Same thing with current. If I move it to current and then I hold the down button, I can actually drag that current down with an offset. But it is that offset, I've learned the hard way, that offset is only accurate at the current that you're currently pulling. So yes, I could definitely dial this in to 35 amps at the 35 amp pull, but then it will be monstrously off at 10 amps or 60 amps. Putting in an offset here has proved kind of useless, because that offset is only accurate at the current draw that you're programming the offset in. Once you start to do a completely different current draw, now that offset is permanently in there, and now like I said, it is accurate at 10 amps and it is accurate at 60 amps. So if I put an offset in, when I go to 60 amps or 10 amps, that offset is going to totally destroy my 10 amp reading and my 60 amp reading. You're better off just calibrating it for the 30 volts, 10 amps in the calibration screen, and then deal with it being inaccurate at 30 amps. It is accurate at 60 amps and it is accurate at 10 amps. For some reason it is inaccurate at 30 amps. I'm not sure why. But that's the meter, and these are the menus, and I guess let's test the Bluetooth range next. Obviously the main reason we're getting this is for the Bluetooth. So I went and downloaded the Bluetooth. I have to say it was super sketchy. The app is not available on the Play Store. I scanned a QR code. Let me zoom you back out here. I scanned a QR code that took me to some MediaFire folder, and in here I found this e-meter folder, and in there was an APK, and I had to tell Google to install the unknown APK, and super sketchy. But we're up, and here is the meter. Oh, here is the Bluetooth app. Let me focus up here. Here is the Bluetooth app. Now at first I was trying to connect to Bluetooth through my Google settings on the phone, and then the meter wasn't working, but I figured out you actually have to click this Bluetooth symbol here, and then through this screen connect to the Bluetooth. And my meter was called e-test. And then once I connected using this Bluetooth icon here, the meter suddenly connected, and you can see it's showing me the current voltage at 26.3 volts. And if I turn on the heat gun, hold on, we are, oh, I think we're not connected, hold on. Oh, there we go, I was disconnected, let me reconnect. There we go. So you can see it says we are pulling 1600 watts, 66 amps. And my other meter says 1630 watts. So not too bad. Let me turn this off. Ooh. Okay, so you can see it graphs amps, and that's volts, which is down here in the 24 volt range, and the amps are up here in the nearly 70 amps, which is what that yellow line is. The green line is your voltage. It does have this meter here which calculates the dollars you've saved. You put in what your electricity price is per kilowatt, and then it calculates how much dollars you've saved. Obviously, that I don't care about that. I only want to be able to monitor my meter for wirelessly, maybe from inside the house or something like that. I will this setup. All this setup does is let you change the price that your kilowatts cost you. There is no settings that you can change in the app that would affect the meter. So this is nothing more than a wireless way to view what's going on with your Powerwall. So I mean, the screen's cool and everything like that, but there's not much you can do besides just sort of check on things, check on your current draw. Now, the important thing we need to find out is, does this meter work in reverse? I am going to turn on my solar and run current backwards, and we'll see if it can read backwards. Now, it's incredibly cold and overcast outside, so I don't even know how much solar I'm going to get. But okay, I'm getting 200 watts of solar. That's good. And the meter is reading. The meter is reading. Yes, the meter is reading both directions, which is great. Some meters are directional and only read current in one direction. This is reading current in both directions. So my solar, this is reading my real-time solar back, that's flowing back into the battery. So that's excellent. It's pretty close to my other meter. This is fast. This updates faster than my other meter. I can tell, with solar and it being overcast, it's jumping around a lot, and I can tell that this is updating faster than this meter up here. But they do seem to be very, very similar. This says currently 7 amps, and that says 7 amps. 7.2 amps, 7.2 amps. They're incredibly, it's weird, they're incredibly close right now. Okay, I have rigged solar through this meter, and the reason I rigged solar is because it will constantly have varying amps and current, so we can test how far this Bluetooth works. So let's walk, and we can see it is still updating. I'm going to walk up 3 flights of stairs and see if it still keeps updating. One floor successfully updated. Okay, still updating 2 floors. Let me go into my bedroom. All right, we are 3 stories up through multiple walls, and we are still getting a signal. So that's very impressive Bluetooth range. Very impressive. So I'm in the corner of my garden, and this is still connected. Yeah, still connected. Quite a long distance. That's 150 feet to my garage, which is on the other side of my house. Yeah, very impressive. Okay, let's wrap up talking about this meter. The screen is simple but functional. You can recalibrate it by getting into the secret calibration menu. You can set alarms, and you can actually trigger relays with this red pin here. That is a relay pin where you can actually like trigger a relay to turn off the battery if you tripped an overcurrent or undercurrent alarm. So that's great. The Bluetooth range is amazing. Unbelievable. Very impressed with the Bluetooth range. It's amazing. The app, kind of sketchy, very basic, but works. Absolutely works. I can see current, voltage, a nice little graph. That's perfectly acceptable. Nothing fancy, but perfectly acceptable for just if I had like a battery shed or something like that, and I wanted to just check on how much solar I was pulling or check on how the batteries were doing, pull up the app from my house. Probably I could easily check it 100 feet, 200 feet away. This thing, the range is excellent. So that's great. That's great. The only issue seems to be the accuracy. I have literally spent 2 days recalibrating, calibrating, playing with this thing. I even wired in my own shunt. Since this is a 100 amp standard shunt, you can use your own shunt and wire it in and just put it to these 2 terminals here, which I did. I used my own shunt and the accuracy didn't change. It's very accurate at 10 amps. I can attest to 10 amps. It actually is surprisingly accurate up at 60 plus amps. For some reason, around 30 amps, it drifts as much as 15%. I just don't understand why. These current calculations are mathematical and based on, the voltage drop between 2 points, and there really shouldn't be, if a meter's inaccurate, it should become more and more inaccurate the more current you push through it. This thing starts accurate, is inaccurate in the middle of its range, and then gets accurate again by the high end of the current. So it's got some sort of current curve in it that is weird. But overall, I still like this thing very much. If I know, if you know that it reads a bit high at 30 amps, if you just keep that in mind as just a way to remotely check your battery, pretty cool. Again, the range is amazing. Now, there is Windows software for this. I haven't tried it yet, but there is Windows software that you use a Bluetooth dongle on your laptop and you can connect to this. Apparently, you can even calibrate and do some offsets and stuff like that. So I might make another video on the software, but you have options: Windows software, Bluetooth software. There are options to check on this meter, and this meter was cheap. It was under $20. I mean, you can't get a basic meter without Bluetooth for $20. And I think I paid $17 for this, if I'm remembering correctly, which is just a great price for a meter. Overall, I like it. I wish I could dial in that current, and you just have no idea how much time I have spent changing out shunts and playing with this thing and wiring it into my powerwall and putting it on my bench power supply over here. For some reason, in the middle of its range, it's inaccurate, and it's kind of annoying, but at the lower amperages, it's great. At the higher amperages, it seems fine. It's just inaccurate for some reason in the middle of its range. But overall, I give this a solid 7.5 out of 10 here. I definitely, feel like I got my money's worth. And for the right person who wants to remotely monitor something, this thing's pretty cool.